Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Coach's Corner. We've got a really interesting episode tonight, kind of a bit of a throwback. We're doing some video review. It's been a little bit since we've done some video analysis, and it's been almost 2 years since we actually did the how-to on this. So we're gonna go over that a little bit again to show you guys how we do video analysis and some of the things that we're looking for. And we've asked a couple of special guests to join us tonight. Some couple of folks who had been on the show previously, and in our not so modest opinions, seem to have actually done something with the information that we've given them. So we kind of wanted to get their perspective and see what they've learned and how they're doing it. So as always, we have our special guest, Sir Helga, Princess of the West.
Miss, not the West. I did not win Kingdom.
Well, not yet. Give it 5 years or so.
5 years. The 5-year plan still stands.
Yeah, 5-year plan. Princess of the Mists. And we'd like to offer our congratulations to her on her victory and her step up. It's almost like this whole coaching and training thing pays off at some point.
Never.
Weird. And, of course, we have Jarl Thorfin with us as well. Thorfin, how you doing?
Man, hanging in there. Just glad to be back on the Coach's Corner helping out.
Yeah, Thorfin went and got himself a job, so
Yeah.
he's got to kind of manage his time a little bit.
It's been a whole thing, yeah.
Join us on a Friday night there, so. And so with us tonight we have Lord Valentine from Kingdom of Caid, who was on the show not too long ago, and has been kind of tearing up the tourney circuit down there, down at Caid. He had some runs in some finals of some pretty high quality lists recently. It's doing pretty well for himself. And then we have His Excellency Baron Logan Pathwarden, host of Ask the Knights Live, which we haven't seen in a bit, but we're all getting busy. And in honor of having Logan on the show tonight, I decided to use his backdrop for our from Ask the Knights Live for my backdrop tonight. And Logan has, as of Mist's investiture, not the West investiture, that's a different thing. As of Mist investiture, Logan was placed on vigil to be added to the Order of Chivalry, which will be happening next weekend, I believe, at Sinagua's Coronet. Is that right?
Correct.
Right on. So again, seem to have done all right for yourself. So, Valentine, why don't you take a second and reintroduce yourself and give us a hot take on what you've been able to pick up from what we gave you.
Okay, we're diving right into it. My name's Valentine Martin. I've been fighting for about a little about 5 years now, and since I've been on the site, a lot has kind of sunk in. I had a lot of kind of private training during kind of a one-on-one training during quarantine, and when I came out of that, things started to kind of click into place for me. Some of the stuff that really clicked for me was Sean was the left-hand work. I just started playing darts left-handed. Any chance I can use, I fight single sword left-handed. I'm not to the point where I am switching my primary over when I'm fighting a left-handed fighter yet, but I'm definitely coming that way. And with that, I have found a lot of other techniques and shots and other things like that come across a lot smoother when you're training that other side of the brain, if you will. Footwork, after watching a lot of your guys' review and everything, talking about I was running backwards rather than controlling backwards. And I see that in more of my fights now where it's, I'll keep range, but I'm either stepping offline or moving someplace else with that and controlling that range. That was something that really kind of stuck with me. As far as watching the videos go, I'd say the big thing that after watching it is watching people react to my movements, little things of doing, especially with that top of the axe head. In one of my recent fights, I'm watching of just this was causing them to react and push the shield and open up other shots. So just watching how people are reacting to my things, because it's very hard to see that all in the motion with it. control was a big thing. I think you guys touched on it some. My foster knight has drilled that into me of controlling the fight. When I get into the point where I'm letting them play their game, you'll hear in the videos my wife say it all the time, fight your fight. She'll yell that at me from the sidelines because that's what I'm control that fight and fight what I'm supposed to be doing, not what they're trying to put me into their game. So I'd say those are kind of the big things that I've taken away from it. And it's been, I'm fortunate enough to have somebody always recording my fights. So I pour over them repeatedly, and it's that one right there.
I think she's right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on time. So it's been wonderful to have that, and having I have 4 knights, so I had kind of a team of knights that work with me and make sure I'm on track for what I need to do. So
cool. Well, we'll get a little bit more into it, but I think that's a good overview there. So, Logan, you want to kind of introduce yourself again and let us know how things have been going for you?
Okay. I'm Logan, and out here in Sinagua in the West Kingdom. It's basically like Valentine said. Once I was lucky enough to take your in-person class, and like it's not just the video analysis, but it's the analysis, at the event, so you can't do yourself, of course, but you can watch others. And then when you go back and watch your videos, you can watch for those things that you notice in others, you can watch for in yourself, and then just try to correct them. Like that's the biggest thing I think I took away from the class, and the video analysis altogether is you watch, you determine what your weakest point is, and you work on that until it becomes not your weakest point, and then you pick the next weakest point and you work on that. For me, it started with footwork. Basically, like I was running straight backwards a lot. So I told myself, hey, you get 3 steps back, and then you have to do something. It's either, go forward or turn or something. You've got to do something. So I just worked on that, over and over and over again. And then from there, it was, shot placement and all that type of stuff. So like, it's been fantastic. I cannot tell people enough that they need to be doing this. If you've got to find someone at every event that you go to. People are nice. Hand them your phone and say, will you please videotape my fight for me? If you don't have anybody else, like total strangers that you've never known until you met them at the event will do you that favor. So got to get to it.
Cool. All right. So we're going to get a little bit of input from our coaches here and make sure that we've got everything covered. I think Helga put together her notes of the do's and the don'ts of the video analysis there. So let's go ahead and drag her in, and let's get and she's muted naturally. Every time.
Yeah, we have a new system in place so we don't actually have to mute ourselves. What am I going to do? Still mute myself. The puppy was getting loud. So 2 years ago, it's really scary to say 2 years ago, we went over like a starting analysis class. And so I'm going to go all the way back to that 101. And it's actually a little updated because as we did the classes, I changed some of my methodology a little bit and how I was communicating about video analysis. And so I've written down my 5 little things about video analysis that I use to apply when I'm either talking to myself or talking to a student. And then also how to teach it. Is 1, think simple. When you're doing video analysis, you're not looking for that fancy ass shot and the reason why you died. Why you died is probably very, very simple. It's either in your footwork, it's in your recovery, it's in your range, or it's in your timing. And if you start breaking it down to simple categories, you can ID your deficiencies much quicker than anything else like that. Also, I'm going to put in there, are you hitting on blade? But again, those 4 things that I just mentioned, foot, recovery, range, and timing, are going to affect if you're on edge or not. If you're off edge, one of those 4 things is wrong. And then eventually, when you get into higher end video analysis, you start looking at where their headspace is. Like, how are they presenting their fights? What are their choices in the fights? Is their their footwork and their timing and their range and their recovery affected by how they are literally emotionally in the fight? And you can start seeing that in people's body language. Don't start there. That's a much harder thing to do, but you'll see when you're getting that, when you're getting those responses from coaches that are talking to you or teachers that are talking to you, if they're calling out your mental headspace, that's something you got to roll back to. That actually falls into a simple category, but it's a high-end analysis piece. Failure gives you more information than success. If you're looking at videos and if you're only looking at your successes, you're not actually breaking down and looking for your deficiencies. You're looking for that little I smoked that dude. You're actually probably looking at that dude's deficiencies and doing video analysis for them. You just happen to be the one on the other end of it. And so really look at your failures. Stop looking at the videos where you won. It's only going to give you so much information. You want to start looking at why you died. This goes with the sub point of that is data, not emotion. Don't get emotionally attached to watching yourself get beat up. If you're starting to get emotionally down on yourself about man, I suck so bad, turn off the video, walk away, go have a beer, go relax, do something else like that. Our failures are nothing but data points, and we need to see our failures to get better. And if you're not ready to do that, you probably aren't ready to do this right now. And start small bits. Start in really small bits. Watch 1 or 2 fights. Don't watch it on loop. Start yourself small. Baby steps get us everywhere. So third thing, look for consistent errors. When you start watching your videos, don't pick one. You're going to pick 3 to 5. I want you to watch all of those videos up to the point of failure. Then you're going to go back and was there a consistent reason you died? Did Thorfin flat snap me every time I walked into this set of range? Guaranteed. There's going to be a timing issue on my end. Probably a footwork issue also. And so look for a consistent thing. If there's a very consistent way you're dying, it's going to make your job real simple to find the simple thing that you can then apply your next practice. 4, work backwards. One of the things, go up to the point of failure and then look at your timing backwards. We have about 3. So this is actually 4 and 5 are right around the same thing, same topic, everything else like that. So once you start working backwards, it's about 3 motions. And this is a pretty consistent thing, whether you're a new fighter or a real high-end fighter. The magnitude changes. 3 motions to how you died. You have 3 steps. So if it's moving your sword, moving your shield, moving your body, you have 3 things to the point you die. Because normally we make the mistake and they then key off of it and kill you for it. And so that last motion you made that you died, what are 2 more motions ahead of that? That probably led to that. Did you step too deep, which caused you to recover too hard, to recover your shield too hard, which gave them that shot? There we go, which means you're probably jumping into the fight. So again, it's 3 things, work backwards, and that third motion is probably what killed you. And again, go back to that consistency. So that's kind of the 5 simple rules of starting to do video analysis and also teaching people how to do video analysis, because these are graspable items that all your students can pick up and be they're going to hyper focus on one. Also, this is a note for everybody out there. It's not a rule. This is just how the brain works. Whatever you have either worked the hardest on or are currently working on is what you are going to easily see in other people. If you are going to start teaching people how to do this, you have to disconnect from what you are working on. And again, everybody's going to have things that turn into their thing, like stick recovery, trademark Sean, face the threat. That's going to be me. You are not looking at where you're going to die. And those are things that we have also hyper focused on in our career paths. And so thus we see it very easily. Know that this will always be your deficiency as a trainer. And as long as you know it's your deficiency, you won't accidentally apply it at the wrong time and miss what's really going on with another fighter out there. So give yourself room to look at other things besides what you think is the easiest scene. So that's kind of, especially as you're learning how to do this, because you're going to easily see what you see and not, or what you've worked on and what they are actually working on. So yeah, there you go. Ta-da!
Right on.
I even wrote down notes for this. I was so nervous.
It's been a while. So
Yeah.
and as we mentioned before we went live, need to ask a little bit of patience from our adoring fans out there in how we do this, because it's something that we do all the time, but presenting it at a show we're a little bit out of practice. So hopefully, who knows, maybe we'll have to get back to it a little bit. I know time has been a bit of a rare commodity now that we're all able to get to events again. So we'll have to find some time to get back into it. So Thorfin, you want to kind of cover some highlights there? Any thoughts you have?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, I think Araya did an amazing job there. Helga,
Yes,
you
really
nailed it. I mean, I was like, well, okay, well, we could call the show pretty short here. But I just took some notes just now on your notes. Let's see here. Okay, so things to remember, guys, and this is something, don't get wrapped up in your ego about all this stuff. No one wins practice, right? And so the reason we're going to practice is to hone our skills and learn from our failures. So this is no big deal. So when you go back to do video analysis, and I came from a group of fighters that did this a lot. So our night would film us, and we would just go in and have a beer in the house and watch these things almost every week. And so as we grew, you could see where this application was useful. Now remember, he came. You don't know this, but he came from coaching football, and so he did this with his football students. Right. And so other sports do this. So why should we not take this as a serious way to learn from our video, and which is our past, learn from our past. Right. So I agree that that look for those repeated failures in your video. So it's super important, because that's really a very easy to tell weakness in your style right at that moment. And this could be something due to the fact that you're transitioning through changing your stance or whatever. But all these little things that happen when you make adjustments to your style, or when you add new techniques, you're going to have these adjustment periods where things break down. And so paying attention to those in the videos, you will then learn quickly where your failures are, and then you can then adjust what you're learning at that time. So remember that. And again, don't let your ego get in the way. Take one thing from each one of these video sessions and try and focus on that thing, right? I mean, if you do this as building a foundation of your fundamental skills, I like to use this term, fundamental skills, that allows you then to extrapolate into vast other techniques. But you have to have a very, very firm grasp of your fundamental skills. And you do that through watching this and repeated it and working on one thing at a time and building that foundation. Okay. And also, when you're watching these videos, watch your opponent too, so you can see why they reacted to what you did, right? Let them show you your mistake, right? Just because they hit you, sometimes you're like, well, I got hit right there. But if you actually are watching you only in the video, you're not going to actually see why they reacted to that particular shot. So remember to watch your opponent, see how their stance is, how their shield position is, and that this which drew you into this weakness that you had at that moment. All right. So those are things that I can kind of add on to what Helga said. And other than that, I think she did an amazing job. Thank you, Helga.
Yeah, she really did. I mean, I was just sitting there listening, and I'm like, oh, this sounds familiar. But I do want to kind of add on to a couple of things that she was talking about. We talk about, failure, right? As she said, it's a data point. Failure is meaningless, and it is priceless. When I say meaningless, it's not a character judgment, right? It's not you're a terrible person because you lost a fight. But that information that you get from the failure is absolutely priceless. It is the beginning of the training cycle. And as she was saying, you go back and you look at several different fights that you had. You look at all the video and finding those consistent failures. One of the things that I talk about a lot is, if you go into a list, so here in Artemisia, we typically do a pooled list for our crown tourneys and for some of our Queen's Champion, that sort of stuff. If you're in a list with 7 other people and you go 0-7 in that list, that's not again, it's not a character assault. That is 7 opportunities that you have for people to tell you what your deficiencies are. And if 7 different people tell you that you have exactly the same problem, that's where you start. That's the beginning of your training cycle. And that's obviously a problem that is, a pretty huge problem to your fighting. And if it is that much of a problem, honestly, it's going to be something that is going to be pretty easy to work out. But that's going to be your starting point. And as we always say, you got to embrace the suck, and you got to indulge in the value of those failures. And when we say this, I'm not preaching, losing as a, I'm not saying it's okay to lose, right? Nobody likes losing. Losing sucks. There's no 2 ways about that. But you're going to lose fights. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sulk on the sidelines and bitch about how you're not a good enough fighter? Or are you going to look at why you lost those fights and do a critical analysis of it and find out the reason? Because once you understand why you lost those fights, you can begin correcting those things. And we have all of the tools and technology available for you to go to practice and start working those things out. And again, get rid of your ego and go to practice and indulge in, the fact that this is a problem, and at practice is where we are going to fix this problem. And yeah, just indulge in the pricelessness of failure and isolating those deficiencies. Also, when we're talking about, analysis in general, fighting analysis is a critical skill. And it is more effective to do this analysis live while you're, in the moment, where, you can get done with a series of fights, maybe not in the middle of a tournament, but at practice or at the end of the tournament, where you can kind of get together with one of your trainers and you can kind of talk about what had happened while it's fresh in your mind, while your emotional state, as Helga was talking about. All these things that play into what the fight is. It's much more effective to be able to do it live in person if possible, but it's much easier to learn how to do that level of analysis by doing video review. It's such a priceless tool that we have to be able to do this. As Thorfin was mentioning, they've been doing this in football for decades, right? And it's something that is not especially new to us, but part of the reason that we did this how-to begin with, this is a class that I do as part of my fighting clinic when I go teach places. And it's still amazing to me how people will take video and have no idea what to do with that information, right? They'll just look at the video and they're like, oh, hey, look, I got killed. Oh, that sucked. Let me rewind that and watch me get killed again. Oh, that sucked again. And as opposed to looking at it and breaking it down and finding out why and using it to do your analysis. Something else that Helga had kind of mentioned on, if you are reviewing just the fights that you won, or, that kind of gets into this, we don't want you to be analyzing other people's videos to gain advantage in a fight over those fighters, right? That's really not the purpose of what we're doing here. That's not really the value of video analysis, because you can watch me fight. I got plenty of video up on my YouTube channel. You can watch all of it until the cows come home, and you can get your brilliant plan of how you're going to beat me when you find me. But the fight that you give me is going to be completely different from every other fight that you watch video on.
Yeah.
So there are things that you can pick up from, as Thorfin was saying, there are things that you pick up from, like, okay, how does that person do that? How can I incorporate that into what I'm doing? Right. But this idea of, I need to watch this guy fight so that I can figure out how to beat that person.
Right. What's his secret moves?
Right. Yeah.
That's not
this
real.
is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to take him down in this tournament, is all just nonsense and not accurate at all. Because part of that is you can't make somebody else a better fighter. You can only make you a better fighter. And that's what we're doing this for. That's the real value of video analysis, is making yourself a better fighter, not trying to figure out how you're going to get advantage over somebody else. So just a few points there about our philosophies on how to do this. We've got a couple of videos queued up that I think we're gonna jump into again with the how-to. So Helga covered this pretty well, but I'm gonna go over it again. So one of the things that we start with, we are going to look at a point of failure for a fighter. We're going to look at a series of fights, or we're going to look at one fight. We're going to look at a point of failure. And by point of failure, I mean the point at which a blow was acknowledged by either of the fighters. As we do that, again, we are going to look at this from a point of failure on the person who was struck, rather than a point of success on the person who delivered the blow. Again, we learn more from our failures and we do our successes, and that's what we're starting with here. And what Helga was talking about backtracking, reverse engineering the fight. Not only is it those three motions that she was talking about, but those three motions can happen anywhere from the point of impact to, say, 30 seconds before you got hit. And, very rarely, is it, when you got hit, very rarely is it because, oh, he just walked in and hit me, right? Like, there's a reason that you got hit. And it can take up to 30 seconds prior to the actual point of impact to be able to see the circumstances that led up to it, to see the footwork and the shield motion and the way you approach the fight. And, it could be something as simple as, like, you threw one shot that gave you a bad recovery. And in the process of that recovery, your opponent was able to hit you there. And so, maybe it was bad targeting, maybe it was bad target recognition, maybe it was bad delivery, which led to a bad recovery, which ended up you getting hit, right? And so, and you just got to backtrack as a bit to be able to see what's going on. And that, again, that could be it. Generally, you're gonna have to backtrack to the point where you see the fight as completely disengaged.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation happening between the initial start of the fight and impact, and so there could be many steps in the middle part that led to that moment of failure.
Yeah, because very, very rarely is it he just walked in and hit me.
Yeah, it's almost never.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So there's that, and so what we'll do is we look at a fight full speed, because we need to be able to see, we need to be able to look at it full speed to get to really get an appreciation for the fact that things happen so fast that you can't really tell what's going on. And somebody gets hit or somebody recognizes a blow and you're like, I totally missed that. What happened? So you want to see it full speed to begin with. And then we're going to back it up anywhere from about half speed down to frame by frame. So it's important to be able to do the frame by frame and the half speed. YouTube is actually really good now with the hotkeys shortcuts that they have for being able to do reducing the speed down to at least to a quarter, and allowing you to do literally frame by frame now. The video quality is good enough. The tools are good enough that we can do this on YouTube, and you can get some real good detail. So what we have to do, so doing the frame by frame gives us detail, so we can see what happened frame by frame as far as the point of impact and the angle of the shot and how it's coming in and all that. But the slow speed, the half speed, gives us context, because in the details and in the frame by frame, there are sometimes when things look like they hit in a way that maybe they did not hit, but having that context in slow motion and like half speed, that allows us to see what was going on in the fight at a speed at which we can kind of follow along with what's happening. if that makes sense. So it's important to be able to do those, the frame by frame, the half speed, all that, to get the context and the details. And then after we've analyzed it and picked it apart, we're going to go back and we're going to look at it full speed again. And so you can kind of see the way that how you see the fight improves by having those details, not just simply from the fact that, we just, went through, step by step, so we know what's happening, right? But being able to see all of that detail that we know now, and then being able to see it live, full speed again, you get to see it in a just a very different way than you did the first time that you saw it full speed, and you can't tell what's going on. So, that's the gist of the how-to. Find a point of impact, recognize it as a failure, backtrack as much as 30 seconds, and then frame by frame and going back and forth and trying to figure out what's going on there. So, Your Highness, would you like to start with your finals from Miss Cornett? After you've
unmuted myself, I win.
Hey, good job.
Won the night. I'm happy to do that, and I would really love that our two guests take the first crack at it. Because I win the first fight, so we'll probably need to skip that one. And the second two fights, I pretty much get smoked.
All right. So it's going to take me a second to.
I like how Thorfin's like, I watched your fights.
You didn't get smoked.
All right, give me just a second to bring this up here.
And the format was changing weapon forms, correct?
Yeah.
With 3 of the 5, you had to win 3 of 5.
Yeah, okay. We had to win 3 of 5. We went to all 5. So I won the first one, sword and board. Okay. I lost the next 2, sword and board, and then I won the next 2, mason shield.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of letting them know the kind of the format so people can kind of understand what's going on here.
It was cool is my opponent has an almost 12-inch reach advantage on me. It might even be taller than that. And it's about 12 inches.
Hang on. There you go. It's going to take a second to buffer. A little bit better. All right, is that coming through okay? That looks all right.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that this video comes from Brown Falcon Productions.
Good call.
Take a second, go over to his channel and subscribe because he's got lots of good stuff on there.
Yeah, whole wars and things like that. You guys really contributes a lot. And Sean, is this at full speed?
Yeah, it was having some buffering, so I think it's doing a little bit better.
There we go. We're starting to catch up.
All right, so we're gonna just kind of cruise through this one where Helga wins this, and then we'll get to the good juicy stuff where we can actually. Oh man, buffering, Jesus!
I gotta say, both your kits look awesome.
Thanks. Trying to up my kit game right now.
Kit game.
And it's probably fair to note, too, that these guys have fought each other a lot.
Nah. It's still jumping pretty good, Sean. Can you drop the video quality a little bit?
Hang on a second.
One day we're going to learn to download all of these and have them preloaded on a machine for all of you guys.
See.
Wait, that's an option? I didn't know that was an option.
I think it said it was at 360, but. Do I need to drop it more?
I mean, now you can actually see us moving.
Yeah.
driving myself nuts with my back foot right now.
So was that a wrap? That was.
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
I thought you said you won the first one. What happened?
I think we called. I'd have to look at that one again. Maybe I lost the first and won the second. I don't know. It was a long day.
I mean, because it looks like you went down there like you lost. So
Oh, and then
Nope,
you got
there
hit.
was a. So I lost the first, won the second, lost the
Right.
third.
right.
Well, don't tell us. It's going to blow the whole excitement.
That's right.
Man, just mess up the storyline right now.
All right, so Logan and Valentine, we're gonna have you take first crack at this in just a second.
He calls that one off.
Yeah, it looks like you might have got your hand down on a little bit and
No, so it literally
shot it
just
straight down.
slid.
Yep.
So much posturing,
Such a poser.
right?
All right.
Just so you all know, where he struck was right here.
Yeah.
Because it kind of skips through that. It skips through that.
Yeah, because it looked like it hit the shoulder a bit. So did it hit the head first and then down to the shoulder, or did it hit the shoulder and then skip up?
There was a lot of noise. All I know, there was a stick near my face. I took it.
Oh, yeah. I see it. Nice shot, actually.
So no, that wrap got. Oh no, that is the one that got caught. There's one where he pops me right in the eye.
Yeah, that's right in the gutter.
Yeah.
Because we wear our shield like a sombrero. This is fashion, not fighting. Sorry.
All right, let me go back a little bit here. Let's see. So I'm gonna slow this down to quarter speed and let that run at quarter speed.
That's buffering terrible.
Oh, what's at quarter speed?
No, it's going quarter speed, but we're getting like 1 in 4 frames.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very chunky.
do you want to? Okay, well, let's.
Well, instead of fighting it, because I've got a limited amount of time before I need to bounce this evening.
Right.
Did you guys see enough with the lead up to that and the blow? Did you see what an error is that you would point out?
So, if you don't mind me going first,
Yep, go ahead.
well, so my biggest observation, and I was there on the day as well. I was watching from pretty much right behind the camera. I notice, like you said, Sir Liam, you fought him a lot, and you know that he has reach on you.
Mm-hmm.
But you would still do this right here, where you're stepping into his best range and out of your good range. And I know, like, sometimes you have to like reset and everything, but when the sticks are still flying, that's not the time to do it, in my opinion. So that's the major thing is, like, about his range and you know what your range is, but it doesn't seem like in that fight that you are on it. Now, when you guys picked up the maces and you had that short little stick, you were all over him and not letting him use his longer arms to benefit him as much. That's my take.
Well, if you guys are matched maces too, then that's going to make you a little more comfortable stepping into a range that's good for you.
I was not comfortable. I would just like to note that was that.
Well, you have short sticked me enough that I know that you're comfortable jumping in and smacking people in the face.
I know, but that is just like one short stick. You don't even have a long range. It's nothing but short stick.
I gotta tell you, you played it well then.
Thanks, because
I mean, no joke. I felt that you were more confident in those two fights than you were in your sword and board fights, just visually from the outside. So I don't know if you're faking it, then awesome, right?
No, it's just a lot of aggression. Like, you gave me a shorter tool, same amount of aggression, shorter tool, so apparently more.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I thought you looked great.
All right, Logan, you got anything else on that?
No, that's like, that's the one thing that I noticed is the range issue.
All right. So, Valentine, what are you seeing?
Just from what I'm picking up from the fight that I wasn't there on, staying at his B range and your C range, stepping back out of that was something that I know I have a problem shooting for legs on taller opponents and then get drilled over the top with it. And I find either closing or circling helps a lot with that with me. So those would be the like a lateral step or a step in would have smothered or killed that return shot for him. So.
Blech. Getting a lot of buffering. So, I mean, Helga, you want to take a shot at this?
Sorry, apparently the sawzall came out, so I couldn't hear anybody.
Oh, that's too bad because
I'm a little concerned that there's a sawzall running right now.
That's right, because you missed it. I mean, Valentine just told you everything you need to know about fixing your fight. So
right,
I mean,
So what I'm going to say is, actually, I got to hear both of them. It was both of that chunks of feedback. So, would you like me to look at it as the analytical point of view of your guys' feedback, or like what I'm seeing in my own fight?
Both. I mean, you're in a unique situation right now.
What I'm seeing in my own fight is three motions. Before the killing blow, I was blind. That has to do with range. Also has to do with timing. Because I took the step back instead of forward and basically into his sword arm pit, lateral motion, as Valentine pointed out, I left myself blind, and so I just kind of free swing. I am not actually in a position at all to deal with his next offensive motion. While he's touching me in that first shot, I know where his offensive line is. I took a guess where his second offensive line was because I was blind. Because that's the killing motion right there. Is I did not make a lateral step to regain any control of that fight. And had I done that, he wouldn't have actually got me with that wrap. Had I stepped towards that shield, that sword side on him, that wrap would have never connected because I would have stepped into the arc, even blind. If I stepped into that arc, it would have been there. But the motion that killed me was blinding myself and wearing it like a little sombrero.
Yep, which he was able to do by throwing that offside.
Yep. And so Logan and Valentine, you guys both saw pieces of that very well, and you guys picked simpler pieces of me being blind that led to it. So it was a really good call out on both you guys there. And it's a really good, both you guys, again, you saw the same thing from two different angles there. And so solid.
Well, and something else I'd like to kind of point out as far as how Liam got to this. There's a confluence of range happening here as well, because he takes a step in to get this offside head, and you ended up kind of taking that step in as well at the same time. So, which I think you guys were adjusting range independently, right? You were stepping in to get your own range, and it just happened to be that where you ended up ended up in a good position for him. But as he throws this offside head, so what I'm seeing of how he's doing this, he saw an offside head. He took a legitimate shot at that. This is not a setup. This is not a combo. This isn't some sort of bread and butter thing that people like to work out on a Appel. This is a legitimate shot that he threw, and it had to be a legitimate shot in order for you to feel threatened by it. And you catch the block on that, and then he completes his recovery right through his shoulder, and it just happens to be an arc. And because you guys had that confluence of range, now you're right in his wheelhouse for throwing textbook wrap for him, which for a lefty fighter is a good shot.
It's bread and butter. That's how they pay rent.
You had gone down, and your hand is down, finishing that leg shot as he's coming around. So there was really no way that you were going to be able to get to that, except for, as you said, if you'd have taken that lateral step, that covers it.
Yeah.
I make a lot more lateral steps to the little mace because you have to, or you're dead.
Right. So now that we've done a little bit of detail, we're going to back this up here a little bit.
Does Thorfin get to tear me apart? I want to hear what Thorfin has to say.
What do you have to say, Thorfin? I mean, he was there. I'm sure he told.
No.
I'm sure he told you that day.
I watched it on TV. I wasn't there, but I watched it as soon as I could. So absolutely, shield discipline is what got you problematic here. Is now, did the blow, that offside head that he throws, which is one of his opening salvos, he throws it a lot. That shot, was it hard enough to knock your shield out of position, or did you let that shield drift out of position?
That's a drift. That at least for me feels like a drift.
Yeah, it looks like it to me too. It doesn't look like it doesn't have the kind of reaction that a shield gets knocked out of position would have. And so by going into this kind of instead of just having it to where you have enough shield to look over and still block, you did what like a ramp style, which is I'm covering everything. And I don't want to, but then what that did was it allowed him, because your shield is now way over here, you're not going to be able to get across, right? It's you have to move across your whole head. Mm-hmm. And he's doing the recoil off of that, the bounce off of that offside head, reloading and firing at the same time. If you would have taken that lateral step to that direction, it would have changed everything. And I think that was your footwork was out of position and your shield discipline. But that's my just overview of that particular section of that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So. But it's also fair to note you were blocking a legitimate shot when you blinded yourself.
Oh, absolutely. It's like one of his best shots, and you have to treat it like an authentic threat. Otherwise, he will hit you with it. So
I mean, and he's got a little bit more respect for me than I probably should give him for that, because he punked me with a one shot 3 years ago with that same shot, and since then I'm just like, no, this is not how I will die.
A little skittish about that one then.
I mean, just punked me.
Give me a second here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and speed this up again. So we're going to go back to full speed and just watch this one more time. we can see watching at full speed. This is fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happens fast, and that's why we have to have these tools. That's why we have to do the slow motion and the frame by frame, because there's so much going on here it's fast. So, alrighty. I'll pause that. All right. Any questions or comments so far? So hopefully some folks out there in the Facebook land that seeing what's going on here. Let us know if you got any questions. Got a few comments out there, including Rick Thayan out there in the mid realm. He says no spoilers, please. He doesn't want to be surprised by who won. So we'll try to keep it under the wraps there for you, buddy. So, all right.
Spoilers.
Spoilers on the replay. All right. So that's a little bit about the how to on this. We had the guys kind of talk about some of their experience since they've been on the show. So let's Helga had that question that she wanted to ask both of you about, what are you doing? What are you doing with all this information that we're giving you here? So, Helga?
I mean, you just asked a question, right?
There you go.
So you guys were both here. You got a bunch of feedback in the process, and hopefully you took some tools away. So, one, what is your favorite tool that you use for analysis now? And what's one of the takeaways you did? And how is this applied to your fighting now?
Logan, let's start with you.
Certainly. So, so one of the things that I've done is, so of course I watch the videos of myself, especially the ones where I lose, because like you guys said before, you can learn a lot more from the fights that you've lost than the ones that you've won, because, the ones that you won, you feel like a hero. So, but there is still value in watching the ones that you've won to see what you are doing correctly as well. I have a tendency to watch every video when I'm doing an analysis. I have a tendency to watch it about 5 times. First time I just watch it at full speed. And then the second time I will watch it and focus primarily on what I'm doing. And then the third time I'll watch it again, focus on what my opponent is doing. And specifically, for me, footwork has been the game changer, right? Working on my footwork, getting it right, and getting it better. But also, you never stop learning about it. So I will watch my feet, just the whole, one whole playing, just watch what my feet are doing. And you'll see sometimes you get crossed up, or, you zigged when you should have zagged, and that type of thing. And then I will train on that. And then the last couple times I watch it is in slow-mo. Slow-mo is your friend, as we just saw on that last video. Slow-mo is your friend. You can see so much more when you slow it down and watch it frame by frame by frame. It's just awesome. So the other thing that I have done is analysis, I think, is just like practice. I will watch fighting videos at least once a day. YouTube is full of them. And in the past few months, I mean, there are videos from all over the place. I tend to
all the crowns coming out.
Yeah, all the crowns, all the coordinates, and principality lists, and so I've been watching those. Like we said, not to get advantage over opponents that might be coming up. I watch primarily to see, because I fight glaive mostly. So I watch to see other glaive fighters, to see the things that they're doing. and to see if I can pick up any of their tactics, or if like you say, you don't look for a magic shot, but you look for like habits, like the things that if you watch a Glaive fighter and it's you can watch him through the entire tournament, then you can see there are certain things that he does, good and bad, that you can check yourself for when you're watching your own videos. And then the other thing that I've noticed I do is like other sports, combat sports, MMA. We watch the sumo bashos.
Yeah, I love sumo.
Yeah, but the great thing is so like and the one that we watch on is it's a YouTube channel called Natto Sumo, Natto Sumo. For each basho, like he has it day by day, and he takes out all of the ceremonial bits and just puts up the fights. But you get the fight, and then they immediately give you slow-mo. So when I first started watching sumo, it's just two big guys smashing into each other, trying to push each other out of the ring. That is the furthest thing from the truth. That sumo is a ridiculously technical and dedicated martial art. And when you start seeing those things going on in slow-mo, and you see the little foot sweeps and like their changes in position, and they still have ranges. They have the 3 ranges that they fight at. So like it starts to become even more not easier. It becomes more what's the word I'm looking for? It just comes more second nature when you start applying these things to other sports as well. And you can see, especially I'm talking about the sumo so much because like you can see how much work they put into agility and gracefulness. Like look, when you see a 400-pound dude basically do a pirouette to get out of the way of his opponent, and then
Of another 400-pound dude.
Yeah, of another 400-pound dude, and then use that to go into his reversal to push his opponent out of the ring. Like it is amazing, and it got me thinking about I need to work on not just footwork but gracefulness. Like you and becoming more aware, because these guys are 100% aware of where their bodies are at all times. So it got me thinking about that. So I would encourage people not just to do, watch our sports videos, but watch other sports videos, including like, HEMA, MMA. If you are not a fencer, watch fencing videos. They have it's a completely different style, but there's still things that you can take away from that. At least I think I have benefited from watching those videos as well. And then so the last thing.
Had a quick comment on that from
Sure.
review there. Elfwin says I picked up a lot of stuff to work on by listening to the commentators in UFC.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing I'll say is the biggest thing that I've done in the last couple of years, Pell, practice, and patience. Be patient with yourself. You're gonna like, as you're working on something, it's not going to immediately get better.
No, not even close.
No, not even close.
It's actually going to get a lot worse to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna take for a minute and it'll come back up. But.
Yeah, absolutely. So from the time that I took Duke Sean's class, I noticed that first my fights were getting shorter because I was getting killed because I was focusing on what I was working on. So they got shorter. And then as I started to continue to work on those things, my fights started to get longer. And then my fights started to get shorter again because I was doing more killing than getting killed. Yeah, I was winning more than I was losing. And that that's a really interesting thing too. So like those are the types of things to look for. Like practice, until you're better at that thing, and then you pick the next thing to practice on, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, any of you who fought me over the last 5 years can tell you guys that like where I was fighting 5 years ago as to where I'm fighting now is completely different. Yeah.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you made some massive steps in the last year and a half to 2 years. It's crazy.
Well, that's because I started applying these techniques.
There you go.
And then the very last thing is this game is fun. And if you're not having fun, you shouldn't be doing it. I have a blast, win or lose, every time I go out in the field. And people make fun of me because I'm always laughing or smiling. Like I see my opponent across the field and I cannot help but smile. And that's it. Like, have fun. Enjoy this. This is fun. We get to hit our friends with sticks, and then we get to hang out with them afterwards, and people don't get mad.
Yeah.
Like,
nobody goes to jail.
Yeah, nobody goes to jail. It's the coolest thing in the world, in my opinion. So, all right, I think I've talked too much, and I will shut up now.
Well, before we get to Valentine there, I know Helga's got some home improvements to do with the Didymus there. So we'll go ahead and let you go. Thank you as always for your time and your input.
Yeah, and then Valentine, I will definitely watch the recording of this so I can hear what you had to say and everything else like that, because your guys' feedback is very, very valuable. Especially you guys are the next generation of trainers and coaches. Both you and Leo are bringing a lot to the table. And so I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. I'm just sorry. I really want to have water in my house tonight. So also the other thing that Sean is going to, I'm now throwing Sean under the bus to ask my second question, you guys, is how is we as coaches can improve our feedback for you guys and improve our feedback and training for the next generation. So give us some of that stuff so we can make better notes and go from there. But I just want to thank you guys so much, like seriously, so much for coming on and giving us your time. And I'm now going to go crawl under the house and install new piping.
All right. Thanks as always. We'll see you soon.
See you.
All right, Valentine. So let's hear a little bit about how you, we'll start with how you were using these tools.
So I've taken so many notes now. I got to figure out where I'm going to start with all of that. I think a big portion of the video review for me has come from kind of what Leo was talking about with I watch the whole video, but then I'll sit there and watch where my hands are through a pass. I'll watch where my feet are. Where's my shot coming back? Where's my defense is at? And just spend that time each time of focusing on that one aspect of it to just kind of get an idea of the whole, because so much is happening all at the same time in our sport. The other thing is I have found myself focusing on, like there was a couple of crown fights where it's like, I know I put stick on my target, but it was not hard enough. Both of us agreed, it wasn't hard enough. That shot was there. My targeting acquisition was there. What wasn't working for me in that time to be able to have that additional read from that? I think I even reached out to Brenos going like, I landed this offside and it wasn't hard enough. What am I doing wrong? And that was, if it's hips or feet, and I noticed I'm torquing my body over, for instance, and actually like leaving the ground with some of those shots and, planting and making the correct corrections with that. Where my shots were light, like I said, most of the stuff that I was able to take away from your guys' videos were the control, footwork, and the offhand training. And really, I think there's more to gain than just in the spaces of where you lose or want to fight. But I think there's lots of opportunities in between each individual, exchange of what could have been there. I noticed with my fight with Patrick and Duke Patrick in Crown, it was a I think it was the longest tournament fight I ever had. I think it was in like maybe quarterfinals. I think it was like a solid 4-minute fight. And there were plenty of times
It's an
where
eternity.
yeah, and it was
It really is.
yeah, it was an amazing fight, and we were both almost died at the end of it. It was you know, reading deeper into fights of seeing that, you know, I've trained my opponent to look out for this shot. Where's my next, you know, what's my next acquisition after that? And I started watching things of like, this is how my opponent's reacting to me. What's creating those openings that I should be taking advantage of? So really looking at those other individual exchanges as well. I've just really dug deeper and deeper into those fights and tear down as much as I can. And that I was taking notes again from the stuff that Helga had said about tearing out the fight and really digging deep into it. But the controlling, one of the other things I've noticed, I get really amped up before a fight, and I don't mind people being aggressive with me, but I've noticed I've charged them and not necessarily jump on top of them, but get immediately into the range they don't want me in, and it plants them. And then I can play. Now I'm back into the point where I'm playing my game. And when I realized that after watching the fights, of watching people go like, and now they're on their heels, and now I can play my game with it. Watching that come out of the last crown it wasn't intentional at the time, but now I do it intentionally, and that's definitely made some improvements for me as well. So, and I do have an answer to, I think, the other bonus question that she'd asked for me. Right. The other one, which was, what am I taking back to the people I'm training with right now? And right now I have a lot of new people in armor, and I'm just being their cheerleader. That, you know, we don't win practice. We have a rule in our practice for 10% that we never fight above 10% where somebody is at. And with all these new people, there is still a tremendous amount of growth and training that I can do, even though, you know, they're learning flat snaps and learning, you know, basic shield positions. I'm working on, you know, left-hand sword defense and things like that. That is, I'm working on something different, but still making sure that I'm bringing the fun. So,
yeah, that's actually, it's difficult to do when you're trying to build your community like that. When you are that much more experienced than everybody else at your practice, it's hard to give them what they need for their development and get what you need for your development as well, without you just like blowing the doors off of some newbie, right? And you know, I've always found that you know, exactly what you're talking about, when your physical skill set is so much superior to your opponent, you have to compromise your physical skill set in order to train the mental skill set. Because there's a lot of the mental side of the fight that we just don't bother training. You know, when you can just, I'm just going to flat snap this guy 8 times in a row.
Right.
You know, generally, if I can do something to somebody, you know, if I do the same thing to somebody 3 times in a row without them doing anything about it, we're gonna stop and have a conversation about what they can do to stop me from doing that.
Right.
Because I don't need to do the same thing over and over again. You know, I mean,
right.
You know, don't break your toys, right? I mean, that's, you know, it doesn't make you a better fighter. It's not really a lot of fun for them either. So yeah, it can be hard to find that balance of you getting the training that you need, while you're providing the training that they need as well in an environment that is safe, which is, that's an environment that's something we're going to be talking about in a couple of episodes coming up, is, you know, creating a safe environment, that sort of stuff, and getting what you need at the same time. So that can be a struggle.
And I will say for me, quickly on that, is I just turned it into a drill in my mind. You know, I might touch him once or twice on that, but I turn it into a drill for myself of what can I do in this position, or put myself into a very uncomfortable position, the place that I would never be normally. So
yeah, absolutely. Yep. And those are some of the things that we can do. And that's some of the ways that the video analysis can kind of help, that is being able to see, you know, the things that we need to work on, and to be able to take that back, whatever your environment is. It doesn't matter how good your local fighters are. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to do that. So
And can I throw something in on that real quick?
Yeah, you bet.
Just like absolute 100% correct. You know, you don't want to break your toys, especially when you're teaching new folks. However, I also have found that you have to go up. You know what I mean? Like if I'm at practice and Thorfin's there, and you know I'm messing around with not messing around. If we're working with the newer fighters, you know, take a break and go let Thorfinn whoop the crap out of me for a little while. You know,
Oh.
just to keep my sharpness. Because like you can be doing a great thing by teaching, you know, a horde of new guys, and then you show up to like, you know, something with other folks, and you've been fighting, you know, these new guys and taking it easy on them so much that all of a sudden you've kind of lost your edge.
You're just in training mode. Always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you hear that phrase a lot right there. What Sean just said is that I'm stuck in training mode.
Yeah.
And I've had it happen to me. Well, I go to practice and I understand that it's a real thing, but there is part of what we're talking about is there should be a place where you should be able to, in a manner, push yourself a little bit, right, to get what you need out of practice as well, with even the newer fighters. But you do it in a way that doesn't break them down. You know, like if you were to do that the entire practice, that's bullshit. It's also, imagine going to a karate dojo in the black belt, just going out and just kicking the crap out of the brand new guy, right, for an hour and a half, right, and they'd be like, well, get better.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not real. That you
Yeah.
train them, and then eventually you do randori or whatever they're going to call it, free play, and you get to then apply your actual skills. Right. So you have to take the ability. You have to take the time to let yourself be there. Otherwise, you will get trapped in training mode. And when you go to the next tournament, you're going to be over there going like, "Look, I'm leaving shots open for you still." Right. and that's a terrible place to be. In a tournament, but in training, it's an invaluable thing for them as they're coming up. But it's a balance. So you need to figure out a way to make your practice have not a toxic environment about just whipping people's asses, instead of being inclusive, but also like, hey, I'm honestly going to tell you where I'm at. Like I have to be treated where my skill set's at, right? And I can do that in a way that doesn't make you feel like, you know, like be communicative to your opponent afterwards, right? Talk to them about, hey, you know what I just did? I did this when you did this. You can still be that supportive person and still get some of the, you know, you time, which is every person deserves, right? You can't only just give. You have to get some back, and so I think it's a big thing for especially for us people that have done a lot of training with other people, is for us to remember to take that time as a coach and a trainer to actually maintain your skills. So,
yep, absolutely. All right, so Logan, while I'm going to throw that extra question at you then, that Helga was just talking about. Like, how can we, as coaches, trainers, and analysts, I mean, what can we do better now that you've had an opportunity to kind of be able to? I mean, you're seeing this from our side now a little bit more. So, what are some of the things that you see that maybe we can improve on?
So like my biggest thing is not everybody communicates in the same way. So if as a trainer, if you're working with someone and you're trying to teach them something and they're just not getting it, sometimes you have to, you know, put your pride aside and say, let me see if this person who knows what you're trying to say, or maybe they can explain it just in a different way or from a different angle. You know, just being able to take a step back and say, let's see if we can't figure a different way out to get this across. You know, like video analysis is awesome, and I watched the Coach's Corner shows before I took your class, but then once I took your class, it made more sense to me, you know, because we were there together working on it, and things started clicking. Um, and the I think the best thing, the thing that sticks the most in my head from that class is you told everybody that you weren't there to teach them how to fight, and that kind of like that flipped a switch in my brain. It's like we're not learning how to fight. We're not not learning.
I'm not trying to make a bunch of copies of me.
Right.
I'm not trying to teach you my style, my system. I'm trying to teach you how to learn.
Exactly. And that was the coolest thing. So like sometimes you have to teach a person how to learn before you try to teach them. Right. So maybe try and make sure that, you're communicating with the people and they can understand what you're saying, or give them the tools to understand what you're saying better, which is what you guys did for me.
Right on. All right, Valentine, what about you? Anything you see that we can improve, and maybe not just for us, but like Logan was talking about, for trainers in general? Is there's something that at the level that you're at? I mean, what do you need from a trainer? I mean, what can we do to be better trainers?
I will say, not to suck up too much, but I will go back about every 6 months to a year and go back and actually watch your basic shot techniques, and really make sure I'm dialing in the basics. I don't know if I don't know if I have any criticisms for it all. I think some of the stuff I touched on early on, as far as not just focusing on the deaths, but also focusing on missed opportunities, I think is a place that we can squeeze some more juice out of that lemon, if you will. But you guys do excellent work. So,
All right, Thorfin, you got any final thoughts?
Oh, let's see. Not really. I think we covered a lot of everything that I was hoping we would do. I can say I agree with Logan about looking into videos of other sports. I think that's a huge thing, because martial arts the body only moves in a certain number of ways, right? And so these things you can apply these across the board. You can watch a jiu-jitsu video and learn about their footwork, and then be like, oh, that's a lot like how I do my footwork. Or right now I hate TikTok, but there's a thing that comes up on that is like this boxing guy. All he does is show like weird footwork drills, and now I'm kind of obsessed with watching this guy's weird footwork drills, right? And I'm like going like, how can I tape off an area in my backyard so I can start doing this stupid thing? Anyway, but there's a lot of great stuff out there, and don't be afraid to explore other ideas. So a lot of what I do in my fighting came out of jiu-jitsu. I started off, and everyone wanted me to do the standard left leg forward, shield like this stance, right? But when 20 seconds into the fight, I was switching to my jiu-jitsu stance, which was the exact opposite, because I'd done it for so many years, right? And it felt like my natural place. But by learning from other things and going out and looking for them, and there's tons out there, guys. I don't even know how many thousands of videos about just SCA fighting. I know Sean's got 3,000 or 4,000.
I got several hundred. Yeah,
you got a couple anyway.
Yeah.
But shit, there's a bunch of me out there, and I just say that go out and find these videos, guys. I love watching. Like Logan said, I watch probably at least a couple fights every single day. When I don't know what I'm going to watch, I'll just hit YouTube and I'll go in and I got my favorites and I'll go look them up and see what's going on. There's all these great crown tournaments and cornets going on right now. Go out and avail yourself of that. Yeah, that's basically it. I think that the idea of having being able to see people doing the same sport across the world, it's different in every region. Even though we're all doing the same activity, it's a little different, and each fight is different. Like Sean said earlier, there's this idea that you get a magic move. That's garbage, right? Because each fight is entirely organic. Yeah. And even between two fighters who have fought each other a lot, it's the idea that whatever that when you as you get your skills dialed in, whatever presents itself in the fight will create that fight for you, right? It's an
absolutely.
organic experience, and so don't get stuck on the idea that if I have to do this, like stop formulating plans and just learn to be a good fighter, and then all that stuff doesn't matter. You're just in the moment. You're just fighting the fight as it happens. It'll lay itself out before you, and win or lose. Like sometimes you misread something, or sometimes your footwork's bad, or whatever, right? But these are all learning experiences. Over the course of our fighting career, I would say if you graphed it, I would bet we lose more fights than we win.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, by far.
Yeah.
But still, that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we're growing, we're learning, we're taking that information in. And the best way to do that is to go out and try a lot of different ways of getting more information.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was a true pleasure to work with both of you guys. I had a lot of personal interaction with Logan over the last year and a half, and I got to tell you, it was great. Valentine, I haven't had a chance to really fight you. I've watched you stab Miles really hard at the Great Western War,
and who doesn't like that?
I got to tell you, I thought it was funny, but I'm a bad
I
person.
can tell you who doesn't like that.
Miles
Does not like that.
But I mean, also, what a great fighter, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that there's the video analysis is how wrapping this all works together is a very lucky tool for us in this age, right? Is that we have the opportunity to go through and see, like when I started in the SCA a million years ago, this wasn't a thing, right? If you saw a video, someone had to hand you a video cassette that they like the silver dollar tourney at Stray of War, and all these things. Instead, it's all out there now, like everything. So like avail yourself of this lucky opportunity you have to view our martial art in a unique way. Other than that, I think I'm good. Thanks, John, for having me.
Yeah, I know when I started doing this, it was Sagan, Viscount Sagan, was one of our coaches who introduced me to video review. I'm sure Thorfin, you did some with him as well, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when he first started showing me this, I mean, it was VHS tapes, and I was, we're lucky to have a high-end VCR that had the little jog shuttle, dial on it that you can kind of do the frame by frame. So I mean, the fact that we've got this all on the internet, and we can get video from all around the world, and some of the best fighters in the world. I mean, literally at your fingertips, and the tools that they've given us to be able to do do the slow motion and all that. There's just no reason not to be doing this. And hey, if you're out there and you're watching a lot of videos and you just don't understand what it is, you can rewatch this episode, and you can rewatch several of the other the ones that we've done throughout the last couple of years. And if you really need to, you can hit us up and we can tell you how this works. But something that you guys are talking about with watching other martial arts and watching other fighters and that kind of thing, one of the things we talk about a lot here is, the more you are exposed to the differerences, the more you begin to understand the commonalities, which kind of goes back to that, big fish, small pond thing, where it's like, well, I'm in my little shire here and I'm winning all my shire championships and all this, and, fighting against all the same people. But man, when you get out, and you experience, it's not just whether or not you win or lose these fights, but sometimes it's being exposed to the possibilities, right? It's like, oh my God, Sean hit me with this shot that I never even dreamed of before. And I'm like, hey, look, if I can do it to you, it can be done, right? And if it can be done, you need to be aware of it. And sometimes just being able to see the possibilities and to see how good the fighting can be. And it's true of watching other sports, and it's true of watching our sport, across different kingdoms, like Thorfin was talking about, for it, as much as we're all kind of doing the same thing, the kingdom to kingdom stylistic differences are vastly different throughout the known world. You know, I've always said that East Coast fighting is different from West Coast fighting, and it's not that one is better than the other. It's just that they're different. There are some definite differences that are you know, kind of a little more coastal. But being exposed to those sort of things, you know, I know when my knight Brian first went out to Penzic, you know, he'd been, you know, top dog right here in our barony for a long time, and then he won Aidenvelt Crown, and you know, he was doing pretty good for himself there, and then he went back to Penzic, and man, it was like crazy. You know, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on out here. And it's just, yeah. So get out there, look at the video, watch it, see some of the crazy stuff that's going on out there, question it, analyze it, pick it apart, learn what you have. And hopefully we've given you the tools to be able to do this. Yeah, I think that's all we got for tonight. Next week on the Coach's Corner on Friday, we've got we're going to be doing some discussion on training methods for spear work, for doing spear training. On that one? You can, yes, Thorfin, one of our coaches. Yes, you absolutely can be on that one if you'd like.
It's like,
you know, you can just put your name on the list, right? You know. Yeah, spear training. So that's going to be one of those things that a little bit difficult to do that without some hands-on demonstration. But we got some really, really great fighters that are going to be talking about that. We've got Tristan and Bess are going to be on that one. We've got I'll say Barry and Pellinor from back in the mid realm, and we've got Sir Tierlock, who was one of my squires, who is a dyed-in-the-wool absolute spear god as well. He's the guy that taught him, and Duke Damon are the guys that taught me spear work long after I've been knighted. I had a disastrous showing in a tournament one day, and I'm like, you guys need to show me how this damn thing works. So Tierlock's a great trainer with that. So it's going to be really great discussion on some spear training methodology and some stuff to work on, and how you can get better with that particular weapon. It's a lot of fun. I love a good spear duel. Lots of fun. So right. So yeah, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks for the comments in the comment section there. Logan, Valentine, congratulations to both of you on the really great work that you've been doing. Part of the reason we wanted to have you guys on, you know, is being able to watch you from afar. Like, you guys are really putting in the work. You know, we do what we can here to give you the tools that we need, but you guys are the ones that are going out there and putting in the hard work and taking these tools and making the best out of it. I also like to give a little hat tip, little shout out to Sir Brick James out there in the East Kingdom, who was knighted recently, who was also on the video review show. We asked him to come on tonight, but he was not available. But he's another one that's out there doing some good work. And you know, anybody else, if you've been on the show and we helped you out, feel free to give us a shout out on the Coach's Corner discussion page. Yeah. So everybody have a good night.
are we clear?